It's Wednesday afternoon around 5:30, just before dinner, and I was reading. I'm not sure, for those of you who are Christians who follow the culture, political and social news, but one person I really do admire and respect is Rod Dreher, and I follow his Substack. I think for all of those us who are Christians who really trust God, but also are keeping a finger on the pulse of what's going on in the nation, his reading is his Substack is well worth it. And he's he's really he's talking to some Europeans about what's going on in the nation and also in Europe. And I will just read this portion. He's talking to somebody from the Czech Republic, Chechnya, and and this is what I think is a longer term objective that we see happening right now with what Trump is doing. So let me just read this quick paragraph here. So this Czech person is saying, as he travels through the Czech countryside, he realized again that it's an impossible task that the U.S. is facing, where every town, small and big, in America has a strip mall and fast food joints, and a Czech town of comparable size has industrial parks, factories, warehouses, smelters, smokestacks, railroad yards. Basically U.S. in the 50s, an environment where any inhabitant of the particular town can find a meaningful job. And significantly, if anyone pulls a plug, the Czechs can make almost anything themselves locally, including nuclear reactors. And he says, I think that the Trump tariffs are trying to recreate the same environment in the U.S., but God only knows where the people manage such jobs would come from. And then, well, let me talk about that first, because right now you hear a lot of people who are giving commentary almost by the hour about what's going on and the back and forth between Trump and Putin and what's going on with the Houthis in Yemen and Israel and Gaza. And people are making snap judgments based upon a conversation, and based upon one conversation between Trump and Putin, they're diagnosing and analyzing, oh, this is the path that we're going down. But the next hour or 2 hours later, once new reports come up, then they're doing more commentary to either support their initial argument or rethinking it, and they're pulling different people to actually support one cause or one idea or the other. And I will just say that a lot of it right now is just talking heads. And my perspective is there's a lot that we can't see, and there's no point really trying to fathom and guess, and as much as I and any person would like to find out what the future holds, because we all want to actually have an idea as to where it's going so we can plan for it and have some security. I think that right now in this current stage of American life, and also in the world, where I think the one factor we've definitely seen is the elites have been controlling us for a long time, 50, 70, 100, some people say probably even millennia, but at least for this current time, I think the reality is the control that the elites have had is being broken, because right now their so-called disinformation, or what I call the truth, is coming out, and they can't control that. And when people realize that we are stronger than they are, and if you read Martin Armstrong, we are going through the cycle which happens every 100, 150 years, where governments around the world change. And it just, whether it's a mimetic effect or just this, the zeitgeist, and there's a feeling of a transformation necessary, and they see other countries do the same and people are rising up. I think that what Trump is doing is trying to get us beyond the current dead end of the financialization and the hollowing out of our economy and trying to bring back manufacturing. And just as this guy in Czech from the Czech Republic was saying, if we can't even make our own sandals and shoes here, or like I was walking along and this manhole or this like the utility cover steel and it says made in India. If we can't even make manhole covers in the United States and we have to import steel, which is heavy, and have it shipped across the ocean to be used here, what he says, what this Czech writer says is correct, is that we're going to have a hard time recreating basic industry, steel, concrete, utilities, municipalities, and manufacturing jobs for clothing, for whatever it is that we can actually survive on in case we're completely isolated. And I think we're trying to get towards that stage, and I think that Trump is really walking a tightrope right now because he has the current elites, whether it's from Europe or from the Middle East or from here in the States. And then there's, of course, the tensions between the Arabs and the Jews. And a lot of people have thoughts about that, but I won't go there because it's not for me to really go too deep into that without come with bad thoughts and bad conclusions. But all I think is that right now there's challenges because there are people who are in control of our financial system, and they like it because they're the winners of the situation that they created, and those of us who are in the serfs, who are the serfs, who are in the losing side of this equation, we're starting to wake up. And I think Trump is trying to get us towards that point where we will be able to have a self-sufficient ecosystem here in the States, and who cares about the rest of the world? And the process from getting to that point from where we are now, where we have over 800 bases around the world, and pulling back from our obligations diplomatically with other countries to the point where we can just focus on ourselves and just have security for our own people. That's where I think the big picture is, and as I said, it's a tightrope, and he's walking a fine line right now. And the second part I want to share is, a lot of people around the world are trying to find a place to immigrate, to leave their current country because, like in Europe, the immigrants have taken over, and here in the States, a lot of people think, oh, we have to go where we're treated best, like the nomad capitalist says. But if you really are just a part of humanity and you really are invested in your country, and I as an American am invested in the betterment of my country, but more importantly, my local community, just one person at a time, then I think that we have to really make a commitment to be first of all, just a good human being, and then to be a good neighbor, and as we are, especially since recently we've overcome COVID, and we've become much more cocooned and isolated, we need to take this step to take the risk and have the courage to be the one that extends a hand of friendship to the neighbors and recreate this neighborhood community. And slowly, as we do this from the ground up, it'll bubble upwards, and I'm not sure how people see it. And I don't really think of Trump as some kind of Christian savior. I just see that for this time in age in American life, and maybe in world history, he was a necessary person. And if you think that God called him to it, and I can understand that position, then, I mean, although I can understand when people are complaining about his violating all the norms and rule of law, I think it's because we have a inverted understanding what the rule of law is. I think that he's trying to affect change from the top down so that he can create a macro level infrastructure so that the environment will be free and open for us to really bubble up change that we can actually truly live free and self-sufficient. But I do understand, and I believe that there will be pain through this process, whether it's the next 5 or 20, well, probably 5 to 15 years. 2030 is my time frame based upon the fourth turning. But I think we will get through this. So right now, a lot of people are despairing, or a lot of people are nervous and in fear. Don't be fearful, because, and especially if you're a Christian, don't be fearful, because we know God is in control. Although he lets people do a lot of things that we all sometimes say, why would God let this go on for so long? I don't know. But God's timing is always just right. Never too soon, never too late. And I trust him. And I think that if you read the Bible, there's that one chapter in Ecclesiastes, I think it's chapter 3. Where is it? Where Solomon, let me see if I can find it. Hold on. Not the Song of Solomon. No, wrong book. Okay, there we go. Ecclesiastes 3, and I think it's, there we go. Verse 12. I know that there is nothing better for man, than to rejoice and to do good in one's lifetime. Moreover, that every man who eats and drinks sees good in all his labor. It is the gift of God. And as this world is going crazy around us, we just need to know that if we do good and live simply, just enjoying the present moment, even though there's hardships, we can be at peace and be content and joyful while the world is going to hell in a lot of ways, because we know that God has given us and gifted us these small joys and pleasures in life, and that we can actually be the solution for restoring and sewing the social fabric of community, of grace, love, and of courage too, and of bravery that we're going to have to lean on as we go through this time of transformation. And I think it is a time of transformation. So we have to trust God, but we also have to be aware of what is our responsibility and be able to discern the difference between when to take action and when to just let things be. So right now, I personally am just trusting that Trump is the instrument that's being used to actually affect this change. And it's a dirty game. And someone's got to do it. And he's taken on the mantle to do this. And for all the ingrates and all the complaining and people opposing him, the fact that he's able to take these slings and arrows and just go forward, I got to respect that. And we'll see. But either way, all this is just part of life. And as long as we have our core foundation of a spiritual faith solidified, then this too shall pass. Although some of us might not be around to see it, and some of us might be just starting into this. But either way, that's just life. So just my thoughts.